I am delighted to welcome Azeem Azhar, one of the world's most influential thinkers on the impact of technology on humanity. Azeem is the founder of the Exponential View newsletter and podcast, and author of the acclaimed book, The Exponential Age, which explores how emerging technologies are radically shaping our world. He is a visiting fellow at the Oxford Martin School, an executive fellow at Harvard Business School, and is co-chair on the Global Future Council on Complex Risks at the World Economic Forum. Azeem operates at the very edge of trends, engaging with leading thinkers, renowned innovators, and frontier labs across the globe. Today, he will be sharing his insights into how AI is rewiring business and why the time to act is now. Azeem, over to you.
Well, thank you, Catherine. AI has been dominating the headlines for the past 2 or 3 years. But what's real, what isn't real, and in a nutshell, why is the time to act now? Well, something profound is going to happen this summer. AI systems will start to create more words in human natural languages, in English, in French, in Mandarin, each month than humans do. AI is writing to us, writing to each other, writing to more AI systems. They will produce more words than we will. The blue line represents the human production of words, and the red line is AI production of words. And these lines will cross very shortly. Now, AI is a general purpose technology. That means it can be a technology that can be used across any industry, in any job function. It's a technology that over time will fundamentally transform the way business works, the way the economy works, and the way we relate to each other. I'm Azeem Azhar, and over the last 30 years, I've been working in breakthrough technologies and studying these general purpose ones. Today, I'm an investor in AI companies, and I'm an author and analyst behind Exponential View, the leading newsletter on the impact of AI on our economies. Now, over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to explain why you need to get moving, why you need to be ambitious, bold, and disruptive, and what you need to do to get going. In order to do that, let's go back for some history. Well, this is a picture of a car manufacturer in Italy in 1905. Car manufacturing was very artisanal. It looks a lot like a blacksmith's workshop. And at the turn of the 20th century, a new general purpose technology was becoming commonplace. That was the general purpose technology of electricity. A lot of businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs realized the power of electricity. They believed in it. And this car manufacturer was one of them. You can see it's 1905, and after the first years of public generating systems, this boss has brought electricity into his business. You can see highlighted 2 pendant lamps hanging from the ceiling. And what it's doing, it's increasing his productivity. His workers can work a longer shift, and hopefully he paid them more. He's starting to take advantage of that new technology. And of course, this car manufacturer became the dominant one in the world with the largest market share. Well, actually, that's not what happened. A few years later, about the same time really, Henry Ford realized electricity could transform the way cars were made. And this is it, 1913, his River Rouge factory, a factory entirely dependent on electricity. Electricity is providing power to the local power tools for the workers. It's moving the conveyor belt that transports the car carcasses through the factory. And as a result, Ford was able to reduce the cost of the car and establish a name that has endured for more than a century. He had to reconceptualize what a car was, how you designed it, how many configurations they were, what the supply chain was, how you sold it, and how to price it. It was a full, to use a dreadful modern 21st century word, business transformation. The reason is Henry Ford believed in electricity. So you have 2 stories, 2 different opportunities taking advantages of a general purpose technology, in this case electricity. On the one hand, you have buy-in, the Italian, and on the other hand, you have belief, Henry Ford. You face a similar choice with AI today. And that takes us to needing to understand the urgency of AI adoption. And this all begins with ChatGPT. You can now talk to a computer and it talks back to you, and it does so in increasingly sophisticated and general ways. ChatGPT is approaching 1 billion users. It's an enormous business. It will have billions of dollars of revenue in 2025. And it's not the only one. Claude is a business with a similar competing product used by companies all over the world with billions of dollars of revenue, a business only 2 or 3 years old. Google has its Gemini products. China's top player is DeepSeek. There are other tools like Lindy. Lindy helps you build AI agents to do everyday work tasks, and I use it quite a lot. The truth is, adoption is incredibly fast, not just across consumers, but also across businesses. This is a technology that has been pulled by the customer, not pushed by the technology, and that demand has triggered a rapid increase in AI development. It's also triggered huge investments. Today, more than $300 billion will be invested this year alone to build data centers that power our AI models, and there will be more to come next year and the year after that. You can see what has changed in some of the data. AI models are produced by a small number of companies, and this chart shows the rate with which these models are produced by the top companies. And you can see on one side, there are not many models being produced, and as you go to the other side, there are far more. There is a distinct moment that shows this change, and that is when ChatGPT shows up. Now, each model that is released is progressively more capable than the models of previous years. And by capable, I mean it's able to do more complex tasks. AI is ultimately an exponential technology. This means it's getting both smarter and cheaper. But how smart is it really getting? Well, one example here is to ask, can AI answer PhD-level science questions? And so what we do is we pitch them against human experts with PhDs in those subjects. And humans do about as well as that top green line. It's 75%. And of course, over the course of the last 2 years, AI systems have gone from being roughly as good as random guessing to being better than the very best expert humans. But more than that, they're better than the best expert humans in every single domain, answering specific questions in those domains. But it's not just that the capabilities are getting better. This intelligence is getting much more affordable. So let's look at the powerful GPT-4 model. It's now 2 years old. It's way out of date. But in a period of less than 18 months, the price to use it dropped by a factor of 250. Just hold on to that. It got 250 times cheaper in just 18 months. So we've got this increasingly capable AI, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper. 2 years ago, when ChatGPT was coming on, I liken these systems to being about as good as an above-average new graduate employee in your firm. And I would say today that the capabilities of the models that we can access for $20 a month is pretty phenomenal. It often exceeds very highly skilled people, even in their own domain. It's quite remarkable. Of course, these benchmarks are useful, but what we want to do is to get our AIs to do real work. We want to give them things to do and allow them to get those things done. And AI systems are getting much, much better at doing that. So if you apply an AI to a software coding problem, how long can it work for without interruption? Well, it turns out that every 7 months, that length of time doubles. By 2027, AI agents will be able to do about an hour's coding, working completely correctly 90% of the time. That's quite amazing because within 7 months, that number will have risen to 2 hours. And each of those tasks will have cost you just a few dollars. We're also learning that transitions in markets that have AI products can be very, very fast. Consider the use of AI driving systems in autonomous vehicles like robotaxis. Now, the leading market in the world for this is San Francisco, where Waymo is competing with the human-driven Uber and Lyft. Waymo was only launched commercially in late 2023 after many, many years of development. And it's taken the city by storm. I've enjoyed riding in Waymos many, many times. It's taking market share. It's already bigger than Lyft, and it's eating into Uber's share, and Uber may soon become unsustainable. By the end of 2025 or early 2026, Waymo might have half of the San Francisco ride-sharing market. 2.5 years is very, very fast. And it's important to recognize that transitions with AI products could also be very, very fast. And what we've seen already in other domains, and this is important for you as executives, is that consumers really enjoy using AI-based products. They're starting to prefer the ChatGPT experience over Google search. And when consumers like something, it means transitions could be much faster than traditional technology transitions of the past. So let's understand what happens in a market like this. Let's go back to the car industry. So the car industry essentially bifurcated, it's split between the people on the left who bought into the technology and the people on the right who really believed in the technology. Something similar is about to play out with AI. Many firms are just hanging a light bulb in the office with their AI systems. They're just doing what's easy. But we will have companies that will likely transform entirely what it is that they deliver with AI. Totally new relationships with their customers, new ways of producing products, new ways of supplying them, new ways of managing their workforce, and new ways of pricing things in the market. And the question for you is, do you want to be the person on the left, or do you want to be the person of the right? In this age of uncertainty, at least one thing is reasonably certain, which is that the cost of intelligence or the cost of smarts is going to drop substantially. It's going to drop really, really far, probably to not much above the cost of electricity. And that intelligence is going to be available to all of your employees, all of your customers, and all of your competitors at the same time. So you need to imagine what might happen. You need to imagine what happens if things that are too expensive for you to do today become really, really cheap. Technology is, after all, things getting cheaper over time. So ask yourself, what is expensive to do today? And what happens to your business if it gets really cheap? Let's imagine complex data analysis, trying to look at the cohorts of your customers and their spending behavior and their retention behavior, and trying to work out what kind of products you need to improve that retention or to enter new markets. Well, might be an exercise you do every 3 months or every 6 months. But in a world where you've got powerful AI, or just today's AI, this is something you could do every day or even continuously. This means that your decision loop will get tighter and tighter and tighter. You'll be able to make decisions much more quickly. But what's the impact of making decisions more quickly? Is your organization ready for it? Does your management team know how to act on lots of decisions? Does that become an advantage for you, allowing you to serve customers with better products, more competitive pricing, and beat your competitors? Or is that something that will overwhelm your organization because it's set up differently, it's not ready for it, or you just simply don't take advantage of it? And imagine if every employee managed a team of highly capable workers. Many businesses, of course, are faced with a constraint on the human resources they have. We have huge backlogs of things we need to fix, of customers that need support, delays that build up for one reason or another, but often because we don't have the resources to tackle them. Well, imagine if employees are capable of doing much more work. If a single engineer becomes an engineering manager, managing many, many AI coding agents, each of which can go off and do 2 or 3 hours work. Well, at that stage, you'll crunch through your product backlog really rapidly. So that backlog needs to be big, it needs to be useful, it needs to serve the customer, it needs to help you deliver more value to them. And what would you do if the budget requests for new headcounts in business development or sales could be met by expanding the capabilities of your workers by giving them AI agents and tools to support them? What would change in your business if your business was capable of absorbing that new dynamic capability? Now, imagine if your teams were coming up with thousands of great ideas every day. How would you select the best? How would you filter them? How could you make sure you could even deliver on them? So once you're done with this imagining, you really have to get going. Let me share some experiences I've had. I think it's really exciting time for those of you in leadership roles. One secret that I'm willing to share is the idea of the croissant. And that is, you really need to get the most senior person in your organization, the CEO, to lead with belief. The reason the CEO needs to lead with belief, needs to internalize this, needs to believe that AI can transform your company, deliver new services to your customers, is that so many questions about product, pricing, resourcing, staffing involve many, many departments. And the only person who can look across all of them is the CEO. The CEO is really the only one with the authority and the leadership to change the direction of the ship or to transform it entirely. In that sense, AI is not a technology like a traditional IT sale. Those can happen just somewhere in the organization. AI fundamentally pervades the mission of your company. The second part of the croissant is the front line, because those on the front line absolutely need to have the tools, because it's the front line where the disciplines of using AI, of serving customers, and of becoming AI native will actually be developed. Now, that's quite hard to manage. And if you're in a leadership position, what I think you need to do is go out and spend 10 or 20 hours really deeply inculcating yourself with AI systems until you have your own moment of belief. A great example of a CEO doing this is Satya Nadella, the boss of Microsoft. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. Well, it turns out that Satya is leading from the front in articulating what Microsoft should be doing, even to the extent that he has started to get back to software coding using these AI-enabled coding tools that any of us can put our hands to. I'm not sure any of his code is necessarily making it into his product, but it shows the degree to which a boss can lead in. In my business, we have a mantra, which is, if you're doing something 5 times a week, you should automate it. It creates a new mindset, a positive attitude towards AI. It's as simple as saying, if you're doing it 5 times a week, figure out how to automate it. This changes the way in which you look at a problem, the way that you think about getting something done, because now it's no longer a thing a human does. It's just a thing that needs to get done, and someone is going to use AI resources to do it. We're starting to see this change in other companies. Moderna, the enormous biotech company behind one of the COVID vaccines, has merged its HR and IT functions under one C-level exec, because problems in the business just need to be addressed and solved by the right mix of talent. Your people also need to become AI native. This is something that you can measure, enable, and evaluate over time. It becomes a continuum, and you move them from simple ways of using AI to more capable ways, and fundamentally to more transformative ways. The way I think about this is that you start with those query and responses with a chatbot, and eventually someone is starting to say, we can segment our customers in a new way and deliver a new product capability to them. And that has been enabled by a series of AI systems. And that means when you think about hiring today, you shouldn't hire people who aren't AI capable, who don't show the ability to get those skills. And you shouldn't promote those who don't show acuity to learn them. Ultimately, all of these things really matter to you as a boss. Now, as a leader, you've got to focus on transforming the core of what you do, not tinkering around the edges. No one has ever built a great business just by cutting costs. AI as a general purpose technology is going to create a huge opportunity to build many, many great businesses. Now, if you get going today, something profound might happen to your business, and it might be as early as this summer.
Azeem, thank you. It was absolutely fantastic. What a way to kick off our session.
Thank you.
We have loads and loads of questions from the audience.
Right.
We have time for actually a few of these. So I'll start with the not too hard ones. What metrics and KPIs do you recommend using to measure the success of your AI initiatives, and how do you ensure they align with business objectives?
Well, I think one challenge is that if you are really using it at the core of your business, you may be changing the metrics you need to measure. So of course you can look at your NPS score and you can look at your retention or whatever other thing is your North Star, but it might just be that if you're getting this right, you're developing a new proposition for your customers. So that's a harder answer. The easier answer, I think, is I do think a lot of this starts with the capability development within your people. And so you shouldn't be looking necessarily as an AI initiative as something that is a thing out there, like, oh, we built the new warehouse. What you really need to measure is how capable are we as an organization to use AI? How capable are our individuals? How capable are our teams? How quickly are they learning? And the point about the learning is that the AI systems are quite unstable in that they're changing so rapidly. So you need to cultivate the ability to learn in that dynamic environment. So if you have to focus on one thing, honestly, Catherine, it would be how good are people getting good at using AI?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And actually, I think you've just touched on the next question that I wanted to ask, which was how can a business build, I guess, a sustainable or even a mid-term strategy given how fast things are moving?
That's a really tough one. Well, I think let's go through the easier bits again. So one of the easier things is to make sure that you don't fixate on the capabilities of the systems as they are today. Because by the time you ship it at some sort of degree of scale, there'll be much more capability. And that's a bit of a sort of flip to how we might otherwise have thought about these things. In other words, it maybe doesn't need to work that well at the pilots because you can rely on it perhaps working better when you get there. I think the second thing is that you have to at least be honest about what the scale of the change might be. One of the things we saw with Waymo is that it takes about 3 years for an AI native product that works to take over a market. And so if you're thinking in a traditional cycle, you may not be thinking about the scale of the change you will face in a 2 or 3 year period. I mean, I think that there's a little bit of overexcitement in 2025 and there will be in 2026, but the midterm, which is 2027, 2028, is not so far away. And by that point, I think we will see so much more vigor and change in the market that you really need to be ready for that. And to then directly answer that question, I've laid out the environment for the questioner. Now that you know that that's going to be the case, you know that it'll be a different terrain by 2027 or 2028. Given where your organisation is, what does it need to do to prepare for 26 and then later this year?
Yeah, great. And I'm guessing this is going to come back to your people point as well, right? It's people who are able to move with that change and kind of operate in an uncertain environment as well.
Yes, I think the people point is really, really important. And we've had some experience and through other work I've done in seeing how there are some people who can be very, very resistant. And one of the issues with people who are resistant is that they actually can slow the whole unit or team or entity down. And if you're really resistant to using AI, I think one of the challenges is that you're making an incredibly bold bet about the future of technology. You're saying, this is not going to happen, and that's a problem. And I think if you're a boss, that's a problem. So, we have people who take these tools on at different rates, and you just have to use your skills as a leader to coach people, cajole them, or occasionally push them to move a little bit quicker.
Amazing, thank you. Another brilliant question here. Could the recycling of AI-generated content, where one AI system creates low-quality, inaccurate outputs, and another treats them as factual, pose a significant risk to information integrity and trust?
It's a great question. I think it could create some problems. We actually have an evidence proof of that with an earlier AI system, which is internet search. So there was no such thing as SEO and SEM when Google launched. And what Google was able to do was use the purity of its algorithm to amaze us 20 or so years ago with the quality of search results. As that became important, people started to game the system. And that's why if you go in and search for your favorite hotel in Google or another search engine, you can't find it in the first page because it's a booking link or it's an aggregator or it's something else. And so that is an evidence proof of the risk that this questioner has asked. I think it's not going to be quite as simple in AI for a range of other reasons. People are aware of this problem. They watched what happened with Google. They saw the incentive problem that emerged in Google because of the ad model. And so you are already starting to build systems to defend against that. So within my team, we have fact-checking systems that are AIs that check facts against canonical sources, and I'm sure that will become more widespread. But to the questioner, what I'm really looking forward to is for the questioner to send me an AI-generated email and my AI to read that email and send a response back, and I never need to know.
Okay. And how far are we from that?
Yes,
You don't need to answer that. All right, I saw a brilliant one here around your analogy to electricity. So,
Sure.
Do you think we will solve generative AI's tendency to hallucinate and make errors? If not, won't its relevance to business necessarily be more limited than, say, electricity?
Well, generative AI systems do, almost by the design of the technology, hallucinate. It's just the way the system is designed. And yet, you have got generative AI systems in really high pressure environments, like in medical scribing, and you've got a French company called Nabla, which is doing incredibly well in the highly litigious US health system. And there are engineering ways of reducing the risk of those types of hallucinations, and we will get better and better at them. So there's a number of different things that are going on. One is that the models get better. The second is that the engineers and the product people who build with the models are building new disciplines to tackle those errors. And in fact, the legal and liability frameworks will move with them. So I think that, yes, unaddressed, it would be an issue, but we're addressing it.
Okay, brilliant. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have loads more questions to our audience. I'm so sorry that is all we have time for today. Azeem, that was just fantastic. Thank you so much for kicking off a brilliant event.
Thank you.